here. Okay, Karla, can you make sure you're unmuted? We're going to get going with you. Karla is the Director of Technology for Schertz-Cibolo Universal City ISD, the hard to pronounce name, but it's a district right outside of San Antonio. Karla and I have been friends for a really long time, and I'm so excited to hear from her today. Have her tell us a little bit about what's going on. All right, good. So we have Karla here, everyone.
All right. I love technology, don't y'all? I'm just going to go into present mode. Good morning, everybody. I apologize for my technical issues on this end. You might know the one day that I really need for things to work, it flames out on me. So let me start at the actual beginning. That would be really, really good. All righty, so I don't know what all Leilani said, so let me just tell you a little bit about me quickly. I am the Director of Technology in Schertz-Cibolo Universal City ISD. It's a mouthful, I know. We lovingly call it SCUC. I'm starting my 7th year here as the Technology Director. I've got a really great staff, great leadership, and it's a great place to be. So I heard my dear friend, Carrie Murphy, yesterday talk about one of her staff that said, had an epiphany and said, we've been preparing for this time our entire careers. And that's true. This is just what we've been waiting for. The thing is, we weren't quite ready for some of it, and it's really rocked our world. It is a whole new world for us. I also heard Carrie say, she's been working harder than ever before, and I have to totally agree. I have never worked as hard in my life, but it's been good. It's been really good. So let me tell you a little bit about our district. We are just northeast of San Antonio. We like to say San Antonio is our largest suburb. We have approximately 16,000 students and 1,800 employees with 17 campuses, 2 comprehensive high schools, an accelerated learning center, 2 junior highs, 3 intermediates, and 8 elementaries. We are a fast growth district, although in the last 2 or 3 years, our growth has slowed down, but we are still considered a fast growth district. Now, the thing that makes Schertz unique is that we have a very low commercial tax base. That means that we have a lot of rooftops. We can pay the bills, but then we don't have a whole lot left over for other initiatives. So that's gonna make sense in just a little bit when we talk about what we were working with. I have a technology staff of 16, and we're currently down 1 position. That's a little tough right now, but we're making it work. They work miracles every day. And I have only 5 technicians responsible for about 5,000 devices each. So we are very slim. We very lean. We do it. We work really hard, really fast, and try to get it all done. So that's just kind of where we're working from. So let's talk about devices. So when the remote learning began in the spring, we had to consider, just like everybody else, a lot of things. What were we going to give out? How are we going to do it? What was the process going to be? We are not a one-to-one district. We had to pivot fast and make a lot of decisions very fast, just like everyone else did, of course. But we didn't have a plan or any experience for checking out devices to students. So we had a lot to consider. Overall, I'm going to talk to you about the differences between spring, the process in spring, and now how we're approaching fall. We've learned a lot. To date, we have given out about 2,800 devices, and that's to about 1,900 families. And we're having to find a balance between at-home learning and on-campus learning when we come back next Tuesday, when we have students actually coming back next Tuesday. That's a delicate dance that we'll talk about a little bit. We'll talk about device return, and then we'll talk about cleaning devices and inspecting. Okay, so devices. So we have to think about, okay, what do we have? Well, we have laptops. We have Chromebooks, thank goodness, because about 2 years ago, I wouldn't have purchased a Chromebook. Long story, but I'm glad that I saw the light, and now we have a lot of Chromebooks, and we have iPads. So in considering what we would check out and understanding that there would be multiple students using a single device, we decided that we would not check out the laptops. The reason is because any student who used that laptop would have to be in district to log on to it the first time, and that wasn't going to happen. Everybody was at home. There wasn't going to be any way for them to authenticate the first time to a laptop. So we just took that right off the list, right off the bat. And we also decided to go with the Chromebooks first. And that's because they're so easy to manage, and we are able to filter those from our DNS filter. So that was a plus for us. So then we had to decide who was going to get those devices. Again, remember I said we are not a one-to-one district, and I'm going to try this. I don't know if it's going to work, if you're going to be able to see it. Leilani, can you see my survey?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so we surveyed our families. We needed to know, what do you have available? How many kids do you have in your household? If you have a device, what is it? Do you have a Chromebook, a tablet, a Kindle? What do you have? Do you just have a phone, or do you not have anything? And then of what you have, how many do you have available for your kids? And do you have internet in your household? Now, that was a really good question to ask, but it didn't really help because we didn't have hotspots in the spring. So, but we did. We asked that question anyway. And we asked our parents, okay, tell us your oldest child's name in the district and where they go to school, and then tell us, I think we asked for, the children. Tell us about the children. We needed to be able to know who the parent was connected to and at what school. I'm scrolling fast, I apologize, but it's all the same thing. And so that's it. That's all we needed to know from our families. I'm going to try again to get back to the presentation. That didn't work out very well. Leilani, what did I do? Can you hear me? Well, y'all, I've lost it. Let me get back here. There we go. I found it. Never mind. Okay, so then we had to say, okay, how are we going to do it? So we decided it made a lot of sense to us at the time in the spring that we would tag those devices with all of the students, actually the parents' names and the time that they were going to pick it up. So I'm going to tell you about that in just a second, but what we learned from that is that was a lot of work for not much benefit. People didn't necessarily show up at the exact time slots that they said they were coming, and other people's did show up, and so we had to give out something we'd already assigned to somebody else. It kind of became a nightmare. But once we decided who was in the families, what they had, we had to decide who was going to get devices. So we sent home a user agreement. We based who we sent it to on, first of all, if you didn't have any devices available for your students, what kind of device do you have, if you have any? Is it just a smartphone? That's not a great learning device. We know it can be used. We use it in school. But for remote learning solely all the time, it's not a great device. Do you have a Kindle? Also fine, but not the best device. So we prioritized families that had those kinds of no devices or phones or just tablets that we don't necessarily use in our schools. And then how many kids do you have at home? We also had to decide how many devices were we going to allow students to have. So again, we're not one-to-one. So we had to make a tough decision and say, okay, we're going to give one device per family. worked out fine until we had families that have 4 kids, 5 kids, 6 kids. So we quickly had to decide that we were going to make allowances for those families with more children. So we decided that if you had 4 children, 4 or 5 kids, we'd give you 2 devices. If you had 6 or more, we would give you 3. And that was about as far as we could go, because again, not enough to go around. We did order hotspots. We didn't have those available at the time. They came in August, and we'll talk more about that. In the fall, when we did our user agreement, we based it on our parent survey. Our district surveyed all of our families, asking each family to enter a response for each of their children. So that meant if they had 3 kids, they did 3 surveys. That's great, because then we know exactly how many kids you have in your family. So some of the questions were, what devices are available in your home for remote learning? Does your child have a reliable device? What is your internet access? Do you have reliable internet access? None, only on a smartphone, or it's slow. So again, for devices, we use the same criteria. Up to 3 kids, 1 device, not great. It's a struggle, especially in the fall when we really were doing a lot more rigorous learning than we were in the spring. And for 4 or 5 families, you got 2, and 6, you got 3. That stayed the same. For internet access, when our hotspots came in, we based that on prioritizing homes with no internet service or those with only smartphones. So then once we got all of the user agreements out and people were responding, we had to decide how we were going to distribute these devices. It made sense to us to have a central distribution location. Now, in this case, in the spring, it meant different campuses, but only one at a time. That's not confusing at all for anybody. But we based that on which campuses had the most devices that we could distribute. So once we wiped out Chromebooks from one campus, then we moved on to another. Those were, unfortunately, the campuses that we chose for them was they had the newest devices because we had just done a replacement. So all of their new shiny Chromebooks were handed out. So once like I said, once we finished one campus, we'd move on to another one. We wiped out 2 elementary schools, 2 intermediate schools, 1 junior high, 1 high school, and took others along the way and are still taking devices from other campuses. It's going to be slim pickings when families come back in just a few days on Tuesday. We had volunteers. Remember, everybody was running scared. We didn't know. We didn't know, how this was being transmitted. Everybody was scared, but somebody had to do it. So we asked for volunteers, and so we got a lot of volunteers to help us do that first distribution. We had multiple times: morning, midday, afternoon, and evening. We learned real fast that morning wasn't a great time. So we nixed that one. Midday and afternoon and evening seems to work the best for us. Once the request died down for devices, then we moved that distribution to the campuses. Again, not confusing at all. We had been skipping around to different schools, and now we're saying, just call your campus. So we decided how we were going to do that. Not all campuses have Chromebooks, so we had to take some to each campus that didn't have them. We had a form for campuses to track. We didn't need volunteers for campuses to distribute those, and we didn't need a schedule. But what we learned is you need to stick to the original process. It's hard when all of this change is going on to ask others to do something totally different. So the form didn't work out very well. Some did, and we're able to track those devices, but some didn't, and it's hard to find out how they track those. But we're all doing the best we can, and we've managed to get that information in bits and pieces. So that has worked out. And then came summer. What are we going to do? We're going to make them turn them all in? Well, gee, if we let them keep them, they could do some enrichment learning over the summer. They could, some are going to go to summer school, some are going to a camp for elementary kids. So we decided to let students keep them over the summer. Then when it was time to return them, we had to decide how that was going to happen. We have a professional learning center that has an empty gym, so we decided to have them returned there because there was a room in there where we could lock up equipment. It was hot. We had to get some fans in there. Our staff was able to handle that. We had the bright idea that we would have families complete a return form and put on the device as they turned it in, which sounded like a great idea, but people didn't necessarily do that. They ended up having to do that when they turned in the device. We had them there for them to fill out, but we really wanted to know what they were returning, what their name was it damaged, what the number was, so that we had like a cross check of what we were scanning in. That worked out pretty well. We had a schedule and we had our staff just sign up for the times they were going to work. We began our return on a Saturday on July 18th, and we had some administrators who volunteered for that, and then we ended the following Wednesday. In the fall, we have decided that we will have a central return and a campus return. Is my time up, Leilani? Okie doke. Yeah. Oh, you what?
Yeah, please finish off your presentation for your last point.
Okay, I'll go quickly. All right. Okay. So we had campus return, central return. We're asking parents to return mostly to the central location, but we're also asking campuses to please be prepared. Kids are going to bring them back. I mean, there are going to be some families that can't get to the central location, or just maybe don't get the information, and they're going to bring them back to school. So we've asked principals to have somebody there in the library who can scan in those devices and put them in tubs for us to pick up. So that's return. Cleaning, we outsource that so that they can clean, inspect, sort, and give us a spreadsheet of all the devices that were returned. Our lessons learned: trust the process. We have to trust the process. And Leilani, for the sake of time, I can skip through support models, and you can share this presentation if you want to with them. Unless you want me to go on.
Yeah, no, I'd love to get this one from you because this is an updated one so that we can put it out with the full video.
Sure,
Yeah.
I'll do that. Okay, so I'll just skip that part, and then you can move on.
Oh, hey there. As a teacher, I love my students and I want to see them all succeed. I've been looking for a way to accelerate their Lexile reading gains. But is there a literacy instruction solution out there that not only accelerates learning across subject areas, but is equally effective for all students, despite how complex and different their individual needs are? Take my class, for example. Alex gets frustrated because English is his second language. Sophia struggles to keep up with the class, shaking her confidence and making her hate reading. And James excels at reading, but seems to get bored when he isn't challenged enough. How they learn and grow now will have a massive impact on their futures. To be college and career ready, students need to read at the 1300 Lexile level. But by their senior year of high school, most read between a 910 and a 1210. Here to help is Achieve3000. It's a literacy platform of solutions for all learners, with the tools and content educators need for a precisely differentiated approach to instruction in science, social studies, and English language arts. So how does Achieve3000 benefit students who learn at different paces in unique ways? It starts with a commitment to equity. Achieve3000 delivers differentiated content and customizable support for linguistically diverse learners, from struggling to advanced. ESL students like Alex are given the support they need, and Sophia will not only catch up to her classmates but continually progress. Achieve3000's just right, just on time methodology means an accelerated track to learning, where ongoing assessments continually monitor students' progress and give teachers like me real-time data on their development. As a student progresses from one reading level to the next, Achieve3000's unique patented technology continually tailors content to their individual growth. Students who use Achieve3000 can attain up to 3 times their expected Lexile gains over the course of a single school year. Achieve3000 supports much deeper learning too, by pushing students to use critical thinking and reflection through fresh and engaging content. Learners like James, who already excel in reading, will also grow in their ability to synthesize and problem solve. The results are clear. Research rated strong by Evidence for ESSA has proven that Achieve3000 positively affects students' performance on state assessments while increasing student engagement, participation, and confidence. On top of all of that, I love that Achieve3000 is flexible and highly customizable. They have around 2 decades of experience partnering with every kind of district, school, and classroom. With the help of Achieve3000, James, Sophia, and Alex are all bound for college and the careers of their dreams. And I have a real partner in the classroom to accelerate learning for all of my students.